this is for social media for business to business. To introduce myself, Dale Keep with Key3Marketing. It's a Kauai company. Hopefully we have maybe some Kauai businesses on the line. I specialize in helping small to medium-sized businesses with their marketing needs. I have a terrible business plan because what I do is I teach and I train other businesses on how to do their own digital marketing. So basically, I'm training myself out of a job, but I do this so that they could be self-sufficient. So on this webinar, we'll feature social media marketing, and this is particularly to business. I've been asked to keep it at a beginner level / intermediate level. I'm assuming we have the people that are on this are on social media already and have some social media set up, but this will help you understand where to target your efforts and how to target your efforts. So let me move my face out of the way here. And all right, so let me get back. Olivia, did it advance the screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's today's agenda. I like to start out with what you will be, what we'll be going over. We're going to identify some of the goals for your social media, and again, this will be business to business focused. If you are like me, my business is focused on marketing to other businesses. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. Well, first, identify our goals, what we want to accomplish. Second, talk about the differences between business to business and business to consumer, and also the sales funnel that's involved in that. And then we're going to talk about what platforms to use. There's different social media platforms. What's the best for you for B2b business? 5 types of social media posts. And then they say content is king, and sometimes this is the hardest part for a business to come up with. And so we're going to talk about what kind of content you could come up with, and the next will be generating some ideas for that content. I'll share with you, a content creator that could help you to build these the ideas that you have. And it's also important to analyze results of your campaigns. We'll talk a little bit about that and some tips and tricks at the end. So one of the first steps in getting started in your social media marketing is coming up with your goals. What do you want to accomplish? You have to decide what those will be based on your type of business. But in a recent survey of business to business marketers, here are the top 3 goals they had, which is creating brand awareness, building credibility and trust, and educating audiences. And here's the result of that survey. You can see the top three on the left, and the top 3 there is in the orange bars. So 80% said create brand awareness was what their goals were. 75% build credibility and trust, 70% at educating audience. Then in the blue bars, you'll see that build loyalty with existing customers, generate demands and leads. The gray bars, under 50%, were nurture subscribers, audiences, and the leads that they have, drive attendance to in-person or even virtual events, and generate some sales, get some revenue in there. And then support of a launch of a new product or a service, and to build a subscribed audience. Maybe it's for your email marketing. So I want to focus back on the top 3 because these are spot on for business to business marketing, and social media is the perfect place to accomplish these goals. You have to think, how can you introduce your brand to the world or your local community? How can you convey your company is credible and trustworthy, and what opportunities are out there that you can educate your customers about your business and your product and your services. So let's take a look at the differences between B2B and B2C. So B2C is business to consumer or business to customer, and it is businesses making transactions directly with consumers of their product and services. B2C transactions are usually smaller in volume, and these are like restaurants and dentists and retail stores and salons and those similar type businesses that are targeted towards mainly individual people. And then you have B2B. And B2B is basically businesses doing businesses with other businesses. There's a lot of B's in there, but I'm assuming if you are on this webinar that you are a business looking to market to other businesses. So it's a perfect place for you. B2B has a longer sales cycle, has more sophisticated buyers, and there's a longer research period involved, and there's more stakeholders to reach. So examples of B2B businesses would be marketing agencies like myself, computer software companies, or architects or wholesalers or tech companies and the like. The key to B2B marketing is understanding who your audience is. So let's explore that. So the first step in setting up your B2B content marketing strategy is knowing who you are talking to. This will guide you on how and what content you produce. So your target audience will be made up of various businesses who would benefit from the product or service that you're offering. And usually businesses have, excuse me, have already these audiences in mind, even if they're not defined in detail. In this process, it's best to write these audiences down so you can reference them later as you plan out your content. Next, think of some marketing personas that would reside in these type of audiences. Part of the persona profiles should include the type of content they enjoy. Knowing this will help you determine what content types to prioritize in your marketing. One important point for B2B persona is to identify the individual buyer's job position as well. You can market all you want to a business, but at the end of the day, someone or a group of people are making those final decisions. And honestly, marketing to an engineer is way different than marketing to, say, like a creative director. You have to think, are you targeting, the CFO or the CEO or the HR or marketing director? So think about those things. Now let's talk about the sales cycle of B2B, since that's an important part of how we define our social media marketing strategy. I don't know if you've seen sales funnels before, but the B2C sales funnel is grouped into 3 steps, and basically it's these 3 steps, and then there's a call to action. As you can see, both sales funnels begin with awareness and interest. From there, they branch out off into various stages. We're going to take a closer look at each of these stages and of the business-to-business funnel and explain why B2B has more stages. But the short answer is typically more people are involved in the purchasing decisions within B2Bs, which leads to a longer sales cycle and more stages that are involved in this funnel. So let's define what these stages are. So sales funnel stage 1 is awareness. So the awareness stage is the first part of the buyer's journey. The consumer is identifying a need or a problem that requires a solution, and they're beginning the process of selecting the right product or service. In general, it's safe to assume that most buyers will either return to companies that they've used before to solve their particular problem, or if not, they will research a new source. And these consumers will likely turn to the internet to find these solutions. Let me close my email out so I don't have these pop up. All right, so then the next sales funnel stage is interest. The interest stage is when consumer conducts a deeper audit of your company, meaning looking at your product and services. They'll likely search out your website and your social media feeds and spend time on better understanding what services you offer. They'll look at a portfolio pieces, testimonials. They'll look at reviews. They'll look at to educate themselves and look for those resources to help them understand your company better. Do you know that the average person consumes 11 pieces of content before making a purchasing decision? So I'm sure you hope that a potential customer would read 11 pieces of your content as opposed to your competition or some other outside source, which is another reason content marketing is a solid strategy to implement in if you haven't already. Next is the sales funnel stage 3 is consideration. Now, what this is now that a prospect knows more about your company, including the services and products that you provide, they'll likely share their research with all key stakeholders on their team. As mentioned, B2Bs generally have to sell to a group of people instead of just an individual, which often lead to this sales cycle being longer. That's why it's important to empower that person who's doing that research in those first 2 steps with kind of a concise packaged information in order that they could use to sell to their higher ups. During the consideration stage, a prospect also might conduct even further research into your company based on some questions that get raised from their colleagues. And even if they're looking at your competitors, that they might have some questions that maybe your competitors have addressed. But after doing some research within the team, the first point of contact will likely happen. And this could mean setting up your, what I like to call, first date, because really this is kind of a dating process in some ways, so to speak, which this could mean an introductory meeting. It could be a video meet and greet or an email follow-up, a price quote or something like that. So the next stage of the funnel is intent. Once that first date has happened, the prospect will request a follow-up, maybe a second date. Consider it a second date, and this is what might include like a formal pitch or a presentation that you have to give, or maybe it's a product demonstration, or it might even be a contract proposal they'll have you look over. But at this stage, it's becoming clear that the prospect kind of likes you. So there is time for you to, this is the time for you to really shine and take what you've learned about the client's needs and focus on what their needs are and what solutions you have, and show them how you are a best fit. Again, this is general B2B, but this is, you'll see how it ties into social media marketing as well. The final stage is the evaluation. The evaluation stage is an important part of the consumer's journey. It's where the consumer will review everything that they've learned about your company. They'll evaluate your pitch and presentation and proposal. And hopefully by now you've provided them enough information to get them to fully commit to you. If not, they may get swept off their feet by a competitor who did do those things. Finally is the sales funnel stage is stage 6, and it's really the buy stage, but I like to call it pop that question. At this point, you should feel empowered to ask for the sale or to ask them to buy your product or service. Basically, you've dated long enough and they have finished their research and their vetting and their evaluating process. And so feel confident to pop the question, and then you could enter into a contract or a sale. Some people actually skip the part about asking for that sale, asking for that contract. And it's important to pop that question. So if you look at the top 3 stages of the funnel, all three of these stages can be accomplished by some great social media strategy. You'll want to focus your attention and content on fulfilling these top three stages. It is said that a typical customer does their own research by using social media, websites, and asking friends and family and peers for recommendations. But this means that they're over 60% of the way through their decision-making process before they even contact your business. So this is all the stuff that they're doing behind the scenes, and that is why it's very important to build around these top sales stages. So let's talk about 5 types of content formats. So a recent survey polled, and I'll refer to this survey a lot in this, but they polled business-to-business marketers, and the results show that these 5 content formats were the most valuable for achieving their social media goals. So first, video, followed by images, and this is ranked in order, then text, then stories, and then live video. So I want to explore each type of these. So the first one, and the top one, is video. According to 54% of the marketers, video was the most important or most valuable content format for achieving social goals. So why video works on social? Video helped increase the user's understanding of their products or services. If your goals are more focused on community engagement, social video content and other videos can be a valuable resource to kind of lean on. Instagram videos get 49% more engagement than photo posts, and tweets with videos in them, they get 10 times more engagement than those without. So people are looking, they're twice as likely also to share a video, share a post that has videos with their friends and their colleagues. So video it's evolved, and video has become #1 because it's a little more eye-catching as well. So second is images. Images are most frequently posted content across all the social networks. The right images will cause a person to stop in mid-scrolling and engage in that post, and compared to plain text. Social media is very visually oriented, so use images to attract any potential customers. That is why images is the second most valuable content behind video. Now, third is text-based posts. So nearly a third of marketers say that text-based posts are the most valuable type of content, and consumers want information. 53% of consumers, they like or follow a brand page on social to learn more about their products and services, and 52% do so to stay up to date on a company with their news. So text posts are the most direct way to give that to your followers. And stories is the fourth. Stories are community engagement gold. Just over a quarter of the marketers say stories are the most valuable type of social media content. In the US, 73% of people agree that stories enable them to experience new things outside their everyday lives. And LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, and even the non-traditional social platforms like Slack and have implemented a version of stories, but Instagram stories, they still reign supreme. On most platforms, stories self-destruct, so to speak, after 24 hours. Instagram, however, has changed that and allows brands to turn those Instagram stories into highlights on their profiles. Additionally, reactions and the replies on Instagram stories, they go straight to your DMs, which is a great opportunity to start to build like kind of a one-on-one conversation with your fans. Lastly is live video. Live video came out as quite the winner during the pandemic, but it's here to stay for sure. Live video enables businesses and creators to broadcast conversations and performances or events and Q&As or webinars or other virtual events. So live and simultaneous viewing also give people a sense of community and togetherness, something that people have desperately craved since this pandemic. So YouTube and Facebook Live are they had the most growth during the pandemic. YouTube's their trends report found that 85% of its users had watched a live stream on their platform over the last 12 months. So Facebook has also re-energized the live streaming capabilities. You probably have seen people go live on their feed. So it's adding new tools for creators and accessibility features and some audio only mode as well. LinkedIn also has a LinkedIn Live. That's another streaming option that brands could use to reach more professional networks. On the average, LinkedIn Live videos get 7 times more reactions and 24 times more comments than native videos produced by the same brand. So take a hard look at that as well. Now let's talk about content assets that business-to-business marketers actually have used and created last year, which proved to be the most effective. And let me take a quick drink here. I know this is going to be recorded and posted, so if I'm running through this quick, you could go back and review. So these are the content assets that B2B marketers created and used last year. So you can see short articles and posts were by far the most at 90%. And this is typical. This is what you mostly see when you scroll through Facebook and Instagram. Next is video, then virtual events and webinars and online courses, which is way up from previous years due to the pandemic. Case studies and infographics and ebooks were also all above 50%. And then you can see, long articles and posts that are more instructive. That's a little below 50%. Podcasts, research reports, in-person events, and live streaming content, and print or magazines or books is another one. What proved to be the most effective according to these marketers, it's in that yellow box there. And this is a little bit skewed because of the pandemic we went through, but virtual events was, the webinars and online courses were number one, and then research reports and short articles. Again, this is side effect of the pandemic, but also we learned that this trend will continue. It's kind of like how we got used to, going and ordering food and picking it up or having it delivered. That kind of was a trend that we were forced into, but it's here to stay as well. So let's look at the B2B marketers, what they used over the last year and what was the most effective that produced the best results. You'll see that LinkedIn led the charge for B2B marketing, which is no surprise. That makes sense. Facebook was second in both what was used and what was most effective. After that, the order of the socials kind of get switched up, which is a little bit surprising. But let's take a look at each of these platforms. So platform comparison. So today we are mostly focused on these 4 social media platforms. Of course, there is a lot more, but these perform well for B2B marketing, and that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I believe you know enough about these, and I'll just give you a short overview on how it might be helpful within B2B marketing. LinkedIn is a social networking site that's designed specifically for the business community. The goal of this site is to allow its members to establish and build a network of people that they know and trust professionally. So through personal profiles and also business profiles, LinkedIn is by far the way to go for business networking and promoting and marketing your business. And LinkedIn has over 310 million monthly users, monthly active users, I should say. Now, Facebook is the largest social media platform in the world. It has over 2.74 billion monthly active users. Basically, 7 in 10 of us US adults use Facebook, and more than half of us Americans check it multiple times daily, and I'm guilty of that. Great for sharing posts composed of text and photos and videos and like I mentioned before, live videos that users they get to react to, they comment on, they share, they engage with. Instagram is another social that video and photography is very popular on there. It's a great platform where users upload their photos and short videos, and you could add filters and other effects before sharing them. It's owned by Facebook or Meta, I guess, which makes it easy for you to cross-post your content. Instagram is the perfect place for you to show off your projects. It's a very visually centered, so you can tell stories with your photos and your products. It's a great way to also tell your story about your brand and your business. And it has over 1 million monthly active users. And then there's Twitter, which is a microblogging platform where users primarily share short posts, and they're called tweets, and they get followers that way. And users could like and comment on these or even retweet these posts. And it's like having a massive conversation with people all over the world. Twitter is full of businesses and brands communicating with their audiences. And 40% of Twitter users reported purchasing something after seeing it or reading it on Twitter. And Twitter has 353 million monthly active users. All right, and then here's some consumer stats for you. 90% of consumers will buy from a brand they follow on social media. So you can see the importance of being on social media. 78% of customers believe that social media is the fastest and most direct way to connect with a brand. And 38% of customers, they actually prefer social media for resolving customer service issues. Now, 42% still like to do it over the phone and 20% over email, but maybe it's not something you thought of having customer service on your socials, but that's 38% prefer that. Let's look at some examples of what companies have posted, and we'll kind of analyze them. This might give you some content ideas. So 88% of the top B2B content marketers prioritize their audience's needs over sales and promotional messages. So this is, you want to make their needs first. So many times we're trying to do that sell mode. And if you think back to the dating scenario, if you are trying to sell somebody or trying to get a date, you're not going to go and say, hey, I'm Dale, I'm super handsome and strong, and I'm very talented. That just sounds creepy. So what you want to do is kind of get to know your customers or your date and talk about them and think about what their needs are first. And this Asana, kind of uses social media, this post here, to help people understand that we're here to help, and you could contact us easily for that. Share third-party content. So this is a good way to build credibility by posting things that you have shared values of. 65% of B2b business or buyers, they consciously focus on more credible content from industry influencers. So maybe it's a great podcast you saw, or a book you read, or a post that you saw that you really enjoyed. You shared their content, and it also gives you an opportunity to tag them in it. But it's a great way to, if you don't have your own unique content, to reshare third-party content is a great way to be out there and to show kind of what your interests are, and it helps build up your credibility. Embrace the hashtag. So hashtags do make an impact and helps amplify your posts beyond your followers. So you need to choose niche hashtags and make sure you choose them wisely. Maybe look to see what those hashtags go to. There's an example. I help a company. It's called Big D Construction, and if you're to hashtag Big D, you don't know what you're up against there. So just be careful of what you're hashtagging. It could backfire on you. It could go to a hot political debate or something. So, but embrace the hashtag, but don't get carried away with your hashtags. That's another caution. You can see in this post, they hashtag women in tech. Well, there's going to be people that are interested in women in tech, and this is going to show up in that feed and leadership. And they did also the at Society for Women Engineers. You see that in blue. That's a good one too. So video, we talked about how it draws attention. 71% of B2B marketers currently use video as part of their strategy. It's more exciting and informative than a single static or image or text. So try to use video when you can, and even taking some of your stagnant images and turning them into video. And I could show you a little bit about that later on. But video, when people are scrolling through that, it automatically starts up and it catches their eyes a little more. So brand, you want to stick with your brand look and feel. Your brand's social feeds, they need to have that cohesive look to them. It makes it easier for your followers to recognize your company. GE, just I showed a couple examples of some of their brand. You kind of instantly know when you're following GE, that's one of theirs. Have a HubSpot in there. You can see that they're using the same coloring and imagery, and so people start to get used to your brand. And if they like your brand and they're thumbing through, they might stop at yours if they know that it's you. So try to stick with a cohesive look to your media. Behind the scenes, showcasing people who work for you, some of the behind the scenes that makes customers feel like they can relate to your brand and they want to do business with you. So this is a little video that Salesforce did about, kind of a behind the scenes look at what's going on there. So it's a great way to personalize and get people familiar with your company. Highlight success stories. So this, you might get somebody that gave you a review or a Yelp or a Google review, but it's a good way to put that into a social media post. And people trust customers' testimonial more than the salespeople, and that's kind of a given. But share quotes, reviews, and interviews, and let them tell your story for you, because it's going to be more. It's going to mean more coming from somebody else. So that's a good way to come up with some content is putting in a review, a customer testimonial, and you can even solicit these. And this is something that ConvertKit, they put out and they made it graphically appealing as well. Tag others into the conversation. I touched on this a little bit. If you do business with others, tag them into the post, which that will help increase your social impressions and your reach as well. So you see SAP does business with Siemens, so they at Siemens it. And so it's going to turn up into Siemens to approve to put onto their platform as well. So it's a good way to share, and especially if you're a partner with somebody, or even highlighting. I've done some work with some contractors, and they like to highlight some subcontractors, and they highlight those, and you end up those subcontractors, people that are following their feed will see that person who tagged them, and they might follow you as well. Highlight employees. I love this one. By highlighting employees, you actually build up your expertise because you're making them what I like to call rock stars. And it adds a human element. Anytime you could get some kind of human element into your social media, do it, because that's what attracts people. It also, if you're featuring like this Naoko, this is making her feel good about the company she works for. It also shows people that are viewing it that, hey, this looks like a great company to work for, because they value their employees. Salesforce did the same thing. They did a little bio about her and has an image, and she's smiling and happy. She probably feels good about being featured. Other people are seeing that as well, and kind of get to know the people behind your business as well. So if you have employees, showcase them. Your product in action. This is always a fun one too. So maybe this is a Sticker Mule. They sell stickers, and this is a B2C and B2B as well, but showcasing your product in action, that'll help build credibility too, and it creates a kind of a subtle testimonial. It also will build brand loyalty to your products and services. So if you know that people are using your product, and maybe you could get them or help them to post something on your socials that are showing them using that product or service. One thing that you want to do is demo your own product or service. Post a short video or maybe an infographic that demonstrates how a new product or a service works. This is a little more interactive. They get to understand better what your product or your service does. Sometimes I hear like Trello. This is one by Trello. I'm like, what? That doesn't explain anything of what this business does. So I might, click onto that and learn a little bit of the value of that product. Video clips that tease. So this social media, you want to maybe take your longer videos and break them down into some bite-sized snippets, and then you could use those on your socials to drive traffic. So this might be, a section of a podcast or a vodcast that you might want to share a nice clip, but they're going to then want to see the full clip, and they could, be directed to that. And it's a good way, anytime you have a long video, if you could break out those things into small snippets. Again, you don't want to have it too long for some socials, because I think there was said that goldfish have an attention span of 8 seconds, and humans have an attention span of 6 seconds. So goldfish even have more attention span than us. So another thing that you could do is, and what most people are pretty good about, is capturing the events and people. So showcasing any events that you went to, or activities, or maybe some service that you've done in the community. It shows that your business is active and engaged and connected in the community. So it's a good thing to do. Company milestones and awards. Don't feel bad about, bragging a little bit. I like this one. It says boom, bang, boom. And that's kind of a headline that grabs your attention, but this is a great accomplishment or milestone for your company. So don't be shy about posting any of these things, any achievements. You need to celebrate your accomplishments. Now, you could do it in not such a braggadocious way, and maybe in a grateful way, saying, we're so grateful to be nominated as the top place to work, or whatever it might be. Problem solving. So what problems does your product or service solve? And that's what you want to look at, and then provide those solutions that people could to look at. So this is Gartner kind of 3 most common ways that CEOs deal with conflicts. So this is kind of a tease into the problem that someone might have. And that's what really a lot of people are looking for, is what keeps them up at night. And And if you can think of what keeps your customers up at night and have a solution for that, then I think you have some good content to go over. Okay, engage with surveys. So this is particular to Instagram. You probably have seen these little surveys that people put out there. Again, Instagram is visually oriented, and they've also added some effects and some things that you could drop in. So you could pop in there, hemp oil or coconut oil, or next vacation to Kauai or the Big Island, and they get to select. It's also a good way to learn what your customers are interested in. This one here, it's what topics are you interested in? Tell us now. And they might, and these are your followers, so they might be right on brand with what they're interested in. Or, this one, I like this blue one here. It's, ask our founder, Laura, anything. So this is, what we're trying to do is engage our viewers. And so this is a great way to engage them. Instagram, it makes it easier for it, but you can certainly do it through Facebook and LinkedIn and others. And we'll get to that a little bit too. So company announcements, whether it's a new product launch or a service that you're doing, you could be announcing a new team member. The social media platforms are great for doing that. So this is one where, help us welcome our new CTO, and gives you a picture of him and kind of a little bio down there, and they could click through. It's a good recruitment tool. I mentioned how when you're showcasing an employee, it's a good way to get people to think highly of maybe working at that business. But use your socials to recruit new team members. It's hard to find some good people nowadays. So this is a chance for you to showcase your company as maybe one of the top places to work as well. And what's interesting is I've heard radio commercials before that are looking for employees, and they talk about how great of a company it is. And really what it's doing to me, even if I'm not looking for a job, is it's making me think, wow, that company does sound good. That's I wouldn't mind working for a company, but it just gives you credibility and to it as well. So use that, even if you're just putting a recruitment tool just to kind of showcase what a great company you're working for. But this is a great one where it even includes video. So it's important to have some kind of call to action. And you see down here, most people, some of these professionally done ads you have to tell your customer what you want them to do next. Maybe it's, to download an ebook or white papers, but you want to use your socials to direct them to learn more about something else. So maybe it's even, signing up for an email newsletter, but offer that kind of thing so that you can drive them to your website or to more information, and you can engage with them, more that way. So offer some free downloads or free tips, or some white papers or product demonstration, that sort of thing. Okay, content that engages. We talked about that's one of the goals of social media marketers, is to come up with something that engages. And this is, brainstorm that content that you can pose questions to. This one might be, what's your go-to book, or what do you like to do when you're stressed out? And make sure you're still on brand with everything. But it's a good way to ask for people's input. Okay, that was 20 of them. So I'm actually going to pause here. I'm going to take a drink. I've been rattling off a lot of stuff. And looks like we're 45 minutes in, so I think we're doing pretty good on time. One thing that's important to do, and I actually, I'm kind of old school. You see those image of the bubbles, and then it goes out to other bubbles and to other bubbles. I think that you need to brainstorm some of the content that you need to put out there for your customers. And you can even do this as a team. Maybe even it's taking sticky notes and placing them all over. Some people use a wall like that and get input from other people, but kind of think of, what makes your company or your service unique. And then you can branch out from that, and it gives you ideas of what you might be able to showcase. What are some of your greatest assets? Maybe your greatest assets are your employees. So you're going to feature that. Maybe it's the automation that you have within your company, and maybe you can feature something about that. Another thing that you could do to kind of come up with some ideas is watch what your competition is doing. Look at their pages, see what they're advertising, and you can actually see what works and what doesn't work before you even try it if they're doing it. If you see that there's some effort that they're trying and they're not getting any engagement, no likes, then maybe you probably shouldn't try that as well. But you can get some ideas of what to do by looking at similar businesses or even what your competition is doing. But one thing that you should do is make sure that you start with what you're comfortable with. You don't want to get too crazy and overwhelm yourself, and then you just shut it down and say, this is too hard. So start with what you're comfortable with. And that might even be the timing of how many posts you do a week. But the idea is to get started, and then you could scale up from then. So another part of brainstorming, this is just some ideas, is you could pick 3 to 5 key themes or topics that you want to brainstorm. It could be, your industry, which could be, some stories about your industry, some events within your industry, news that's happening, or even the trends within your industry. And then your specialty, it could demonstrate, kind of your expertise in that area, and your credentials and kind of your niche, what makes you unique. Your community, this could be some industry specific things. It could be what you're doing to support the local area, and maybe some community events that you're participating in. Your initiatives that you support, it could be, like a charity or a cause that you're getting behind. Maybe it's a fundraiser that your company supports. This also could fall under like, awards that you've won, or maybe you have some green initiatives that you're working on. That's a good way, some content there. Also, your employees, like I mentioned, their promotions or their accomplishments, showcase some of their work, their portfolio work. And also, it might be some of their thought leadership. You might have an employee that is outstanding at a certain task, or, use that to maybe create a short video of them demonstrating their expertise in that. Another good place to start is some companies that, if you've gone through a strategic plan, you have your, maybe 4 or 5 core values, and that might be, 4 or 5 things that you could talk about. Maybe it's integrity and collaboration, and you could talk about what each of these values mean, and how you strive to live by those values. Another good source is if you were doing your business long enough, some of the frequently asked questions that people have come up with. And so you could head on those and be proactive about those questions and push them out there. So there's some ideas on what to post. So now, some of you have been, might be thinking, great, I have some ideas that I would like to post, but other than text and some images that go along with that text, you might be thinking, how do I make my social media marketing look professional? Well, if you haven't looked into canva.com, I suggest you do. In fact, I highly suggest you do. And I suggest you highly consider using it and even buying their Pro edition. When it first came out, I thought, that's kind of, a cute application. And it was geared for people that, maybe didn't know graphic design, and it gives them an easy way to build a graphic design. But then, they evolved, and it just blew up, and they continue, because it's an online program. They continue to just add features and a lot of free features as well to it. So this is continued to grow and grow, and the things you could do on it have just become super impressive. So now this is, to me, it's a must-have for marketers. And I'm going to take a chance here of stopping my share, because I want to actually go to the website. Oh, I got a little chat here first. Let's see. Okay. Let me stop share and see if I could. Well, let me see here. Hello again. Okay. I'm going to try to reshare the screen now. Okay, Laura, Olivia, are you seeing the Canva site now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Look, you could even get a rebate through Rakuten. All right. So here is Canva, and I actually did a cohort for Canva. So I think that's somewhere out there on video. But I'm not going to go through this too much. I want to kind of give you some highlights and show you. Actually, if you liked my presentation so far, you could see that I did my presentation in Canva. And I noticed, Olivia and Laura, your screen at the beginning was done in Canva as well. So great job. Canva is just amazing, because it actually is, it's a whole bucket full of good ideas and templates that you could get ideas from. If you look at the top here, you have templates, features, and you have a learning center as well. But if you go to the templates, you're going to see there's templates for everything. Now, social media marketing, what's tricky is some of the sizes and of like Instagram and Facebook, and what size do you do for Twitter compared to LinkedIn? That's always kind of been confusing. So you could go here, and like Instagram stories, an Instagram post is totally different than Facebook posts, and it's a little more vertical. So if you want to look at some social media templates for Instagram posts, what they do is they already have the correct size built in. So you can see that this Instagram post, it's a square post. But then if you look at stories, it's a vertical format, and you could create one from blank. But you could also look through here. You can see these different selections. Maybe your company is a little more vibrant, happy, and you could even start to if you have a certain business, there's some of this is for like home use, right? Happy birthday stuff. But you could, a certain type of business or a restaurant, you could search for that. But look how creative these are, and it's a good way to base something off of, or even to just get some ideas. They always are playing on the National Hamburger Day. Sometimes, and I'll give this little pitch. Try not to do too much of that. That gets a little bit silly, I think, when you're posting, National Hamburger Day, or National Donut Day. Let's honor our police department or something. But there's a day for everything, and you don't want to get too much into it. But again, you could search through, and for a marketer, it's amazing, because you have all kinds. You could do posters, graphics, business cards, logos, resumes. but the social media is what we're focusing on here. So you have, it's very important. Let me just cover this quickly too. It's very important when you set up your social medias that you have your account all in place. You have your description, you have an appealing cover photo, you have your website added into there. Make sure when you set up your social media that you go through all that. Make sure your description is very good and concise so people understand what your company is. Make sure that they could access your website from it. This, I selected Facebook cover templates, and you can see they do, you know, a good job of kind of giving you a template for that cover. They also have you know, the LinkedIn banners. You can see they already know what size the banners are supposed to be. Maybe you're a construction company. They have great stuff. You know, you can stick your logo in. And even if you're starting from scratch, like right here, it's all set up for you. I'm just going to go home here. You know, I will create more visually appealing graphics than just the text and photos. Here's one that I was just playing around with. So this is actually, I added it and made it to be a video, and let's see if it'll play here. Hopefully you end up seeing it play. So it's just the cat, you know, reaching over the counter trying to get that. But when you're scrolling through, this might catch your eye, and it might, you know, maybe, you know, everybody loves cats and pets and everything, right? So this might make you stop your scroll, and your feature might be on that cat reaching for it, but then you see that delicious hamburger as well. And you can see here, you could download that, and it's, even when you download it, it knows what's, you know, it's supposed to be and all that. So let me show you a few more just examples, and I mostly just been, the ones I'll show you are just like this was one and maybe every Wednesday you're posting you know, Hawaiian word of the day. So that's one day, and you can have all these set up and you're not recreating anything. And this could be the image, but then you're explaining what the word means, you know, polycana, and then the description of that. And the other cool thing here is once you share, you can schedule it. You go onto the scheduler, you can select what day and what time you want it to post, and then it'll post it straight up for you. Let me go back. Now, I want to emphasize that this is actually a fairly easy to use program, and it's drag and drop. And the pro version, the free version actually gives you a lot of images, but the pro version gives you all the images that you need. And you don't have to worry if there's copyrighted. If it's in their library, then it's great. This was, we're hiring social media, and to make it a little more visually appealing, instead of just having the people, you know, back there, I created one where it has, you know, a video. So that's going to get people maybe to stop and check it out a little bit. But if you, just an example of this, if you want, if you look down to here, you'll see all the different elements to it. But I'll search photos, and maybe I'll put in employees. Oops. And, you know, maybe this is a better image in here. So I just dragged it and dropped it in, and you could size it, you know, however you like. You could actually, you double click into it, you could move it down a bit. See, that looks about right there. The other thing is, you know, you could filter things, and you could just search the free version or the pro version. Maybe you need a vertical format of a picture, and that's going to show you all the pictures that are in a vertical format. So you could see that, and I usually use that a lot. You can even do color schemes and stuff too. But again, that's just something that will help you. I'm going to revert back to that one to build your content. And it looks professional. And these are people that have contributed to Canva. In fact, let me show you that. So let's go to Instagram posts. I think we're about an hour in, so I'm doing all right on time. So maybe let's take a look at this one. Maybe this kind of fits your brand. It might not be your colors, but it fits your brand. Well, look here. This is by Slide Genius. And if you click on Slide Genius, it's going to come up with all the things that she's created or he's created. And so you could start using this as a campaign builder as well. But that's even with images or graphics, you can look to see who it was done by, and you could try to, yeah, you could use that. Let me go to another. Let's go to stories. Trying to look for one that might be more business to business. But, and don't worry too if it's not quite your color scheme. In fact, let's take one. Try and find one that would be more, business to business. I'm just going to click on this one here. This is kind of a new product launch or something. So you see all these elements are separate. They can be moved around, this text. And one thing you could do with Canva is you easily could change the color of the text. Now here is my brand kit. These are my brand colors right here. It might be a campaign colors that you're using. So if you want, you can start switching up these really easy to be within your brand colors. And that's an image that I clicked on, not the text, but same thing. You can take any of this. You see here that I'm clicking on the different elements, and this is now turning into my brand colors. So you could easily take any of them, and you could, you have uploads as well. You could have your logos within here. Maybe, maybe you want to drag and drop, a watermark. Actually, this watermark, this is a good example. Let me give you that, and then go to edit image. And I'm going to remove the background out of that. And that's what's amazing about Canva too, is it could quickly do this, remove background. Like they removed the background out of that shoe there. So I'm going to size this down and maybe just slide it over here. And I'm going to change the opacity of it a little more. So it's just a hint of my branding in there. Obviously, you could put a drag and drop a logo if you want, but super easy. You could upload your own media. You have all the different elements over here, and it's all free to use. It's something that, well, I guess I should say it's free. The pro, there's a lot of free items in here, and the pro version, I think it's like less than $12 a month. You get a discount if you do a whole year. The other thing is you could have elements to it. This is my Bitmoji, so maybe I'm going to drag and drop this handsome guy into here. Maybe instead of the light bulb, he's going to be peeking in there. I like it. Oh, look, there I am as a troll. So you could, it actually plays with other different programs that get hook up to your Google Drive for your images and stuff too. So super easy, super creative. You could add video, audio. You could highlight things that you like, that you regularly use. You could star them. You could go to your starred items. You could take backgrounds out of everything. You also have, well, let me show you this. Let's go to edit image here, and let me do a smart mock-up here. Let me pretend to, oh, actually, yeah. I won't be able to show you the smart mock-up yet, but basically I can make that image onto a computer screen. It's really cool. I'm not going to spend too much time more on this. There is, like I mentioned, a Canva webinar. Well, I guess it's more of a cohort training on it that's in their system. But let me back out of this. Let me get back to hopefully what you got out of that is it's not scary to be able to create your content and make it visually appealing, and hopefully you're seeing the benefit of that. I'm going to stop share for a second while I get back to my presentation. Okay, and oops, hang on. Okay, and now reshare. Sorry, you get to see the making of all this here. Share screen. Okay, are we back?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. Now let me get to where we ended at. Oh boy, there was a lot of slides in this, wasn't there? All right, here we go. All right, this is where we were at, right? Okay, so once you post some, one thing that's that you want to do is start to see how your posts are doing. And this is kind of reviewing the analytics behind it. Now, each social media platform, it actually has some what some call a dashboard or insights. So take a look. It depends on what platform it is, but they'll give you some analytics that you can look at. As you see here, almost 94% of the most successful B2B content marketers, they measure their content performance, and that's compared to 60% that only 60% of the least successful spend their time reviewing the analytics. So what you want to ask yourself is, what is working and what is not? What is getting the likes and what's getting the engagements, and what is commonly shared. Again, you want this to be people engaging in your social media posts. So it's good to see what people are enjoying and what people want more of. So take a look, let your data guide you on the things that you could improve on, maybe even some posts that you should stop doing, or some areas where you need to make some adjustments. And it also, again, shows you what posts that people are liking. And maybe if they like that, they might like something similar. But again, each platform, take a look and find where those analytics are, because it's very important to kind of measure those analytics to see where you're at. And likes is sometimes deceiving because it's just people kind of hit it quickly and move on. But engagement and people commenting and resharing is something that is a little more important than just likes. Let's measuring your efforts. Like I mentioned, 94%. They measure their content, and we went through that already. Let me back up real quick. Yeah. So if you can imagine, it makes sense where you need to learn what your customers are doing, and don't just ignore those barometers and even your customer satisfaction ratings and that sort of thing. There's other programs out there too that can help you to dissect the analytics of your website or your social media, but definitely look into that. Ooh, here's some mistakes to avoid. Okay, so there's of course wrong spelling and grammar. I'm curious of anybody that's been on so far if anybody has spotted any of some misspellings throughout my presentation. I'm sure there was some, maybe right here in this screen, I'm not sure, but you want to have someone proofread it or you read it over yourself. And maybe if you're not sure of the right grammar, it just reflects badly on you if you're not checking those things over. Maybe it's poorly cropped images or not cropped images. I talked about bad hashtags. You don't want to get in trouble with leading somebody, hashtagging something that leads to something maybe inappropriate. Bad links. Make sure the links that you're linking to actually link to something. And some people get, all excited about something and they, some news that they heard and turns out to be fake news. You don't want to have egg on your face like you see some people do, where they kind of reshare something that actually never really happened. And so do your research. Remember, this is kind of a window into your business. So you don't want to do anything that discredits you. Everybody is sick of these clickbait headlines. I don't know if you understand what the clickbait stuff is. It's kind of baiting you into clicking through to something, and it's just people are annoyed by it. So try to stay away from any kind of clickbait stuff that is not really trustworthy stuff. Newsjacking, and this is some people get caught up. They're not sure what to post, so they're like, whatever the hot topic is in the news, I'm going to post something about that. Well, there's enough people that in news organizations that are posting about the news and stuff, and sometimes this could get you in trouble with sharing your opinions that are too strong, or maybe it's even just overkill in that news cycle. So you don't want to be the one that just they're just regurgitating something that is already out there. Also careful of any issues that trigger. You'd be surprised, anytime you start bringing up any kind of political stuff, like it or not, COVID and vaccine and that sort of stuff became like kind of a political issue. When elections come around, try to stay out of that. There's enough places that happens, that your business, you don't need to get involved in that, because half the people don't have the same opinion as you. So try to avoid that. Another mistake people make is, and I talked about this a little bit, is there's no call to action. You want them to do something next. So make sure that you always end your post with an invitation of some kind. Not being social is a mistake. some people just post it and ditch their thing and they don't come back and check. And some people might make a comment that you need to make a comment about or have a question. So social media, the intent is to be social. So get back there and be social. Another thing, especially with business to business, is don't sell too early. Again, you're going to turn them off if you and again, going back to the dating analogy where you're showcasing yourself and I'm amazing and I could, lift all these weights and just, super cool and stuff. And it's just a turn off when you're trying to, and then you pop the question of, will you go on a date with me? And, don't sell too early to businesses because you saw that sales funnel and what they go through on that. Let's take a look at some more here. All right. So here is why consumers unfollow people or businesses. So they have poor customer service. That's an interesting one for social media. And some people don't realize customer service and social media kind of go hand in hand there, and some people use social media as part of their customer service. Some people unfollow because it's irrelevant content. Maybe they thought your socials were going to be about something and it's just not, and so they unfollow you. Maybe that has too many ads that are showing up, and nobody wants to be sold all the time. They're not going on their social media to be sold. They might be going on there to buy something, but they don't want to be sold all the time. So that might be too many promotional things on there. Again, they talk about politics or socials. They get turned off over that. They hear it from all different angles and they don't need to necessarily hear it. They'll subscribe to groups and follow groups and pages that have that stuff on there. But your business doesn't need to get into that. They ignore posts and mentions of people. That was that post and ditch thing. It feels like it's not monitored by anybody. If nobody's there, then I'm not there. So they'll unfollow. And they use influencers to sell. Some people are big on having influencers, showcase their product, but sometimes that turns off people where, to me, if I see an influencer, then I'm realizing, okay, it's not a genuine, they're getting paid for this. It's maybe not, your trust and credibility. And again, that's one of the big goals of what we're trying to accomplish with business to business marketing is that trust and accountability. Okay, so what happens if things go wrong? So we got to manage some of the risks of social media. You'll see some social media posts and it's criticizing colleagues, employees, or even employers. There's the risk of any confidential information getting out there. Sharing a view that's not professional or part of the shared value of the company. Again, there's the political issues, photos that shouldn't be posted, maybe as proprietary information, or a photo that especially during the pandemic, where you had some photos that were out there that maybe people weren't wearing masks during the lockdown time, and it offends some people. So careful what photos you're putting out there. And if there's any chance of it being taken differently, then maybe look for a different photo. There's also defamation and discrimination issues they have to watch out for. Any obscenity, people take their freedom of speech to different levels at some time. And so you kind of have to monitor that. Any harassment that goes on. And a lot of this I shouldn't say it doesn't, but it's limited in the business to business world because we're dealing with more professionals, but it's still some things that you have to watch out for. There's IP, there's intellectual property that you have to be careful of, and copyright or plagiarism. You don't want to, put something out there that you're taking credit as your own when it's not your own. So those are some risks that are involved. I would encourage you to create a company social media policy, especially if you have multiple employees or people that are interacting with your social media. Have a discussion within your company, talk about the risks that are involved, and create a policy or even a handbook, and even maybe a PR crisis plan. There was a resort on Kauai that I was working with, a high-end resort. And early on during the pandemic, they put a post out there that said, hey, if you have to stay at home and work from home anyway, why don't you come to Kauai and work from home at our resort? Well, you can imagine with the local population, that didn't go over well when we're trying to keep people from not traveling to the island, that they're welcoming people to come and quarantine and stay at home in their resort. So that kind of backfired on them, and they had to quickly, take that down, apologize, and it goes over well. People are easy to forgive, but it was just not well played. Bad practices, it can damage your brand reputation. You spend months and months building up your reputation, and one post or thing can take that down. Some things that will encourage negative comments. I try to get people to understand, if that's going to cause negative comments, you might not want to post that, because you want to have your social media be very positive and encouraging and uplifting. So try to stay away from things that'll cause negative comments. It could create bad reviews as well. You could lose followers and even lose sales if some of the these bad practices happen. So pay attention to that. Okay, we're headed down the finish line here. I'm going to run through some tips and tricks. So tip 1, find out what people are asking about. So there's a website called answerthepublic.com, and it's pretty cool. You could, if it's part of your industry, maybe you go in there and you ask a question or a topic and you put it in there, and it's really easy to use. And then it'll give you these branches of things to go, but it's basically, you're going to find content there, what people are curious about. Maybe you are a flower business that caters to to resorts and to another businesses to bring in flowers for them. You could just put in this answerthepublic.com what flowers are people's favorite, and it'll give you different things, and what flowers last the longest, and then I'll give you content is like, did you know that the carnation is the longest lasting flower when cut? It just kind of gives you some content to look at. Tip 1. Tip 2, create a calendar of what and when you will post. I showed you how you could do that in Canva, but this is something different where social media calendar programs, they're out there. There's a lot of different ones. Examples are Hootsuite, HubSpot, Trello. As you saw, I used Canva, but Sprout Social is a good one, and Evernote. And again, you can even Google what are the top social media calendaring. And this is where you'll want to use this service if you are juggling several accounts and you're posting several times, because you'll just get overwhelmed if you try to keep track of it yourself. Tip 3, don't forget to end each post with a call to action. I mentioned that a couple times now. Invite them to do something. Click through to your website, sign up for an email, watch this video, watch this demonstration, something like that. Tip 4, engage, engage, engage. The more active you are, the more attention you will get. Engage with your followers and those that comment, engage with them. You could even PM, private message them when they join your your business and follow, you could even welcome them. Engage with other people's posts. So this is, if you think about it, if you're trying to make a presence and you're trying to be part of an industry, if you're on LinkedIn and you are commenting on other people's posts within that industry, your name is popping up there, and people are seeing your name. And that's one of those things that it's valuable just to have your name or your business name come up, but try to think of things that you could add value to a conversation to other people's posts, because if they see that you're adding value and that you are, you look like you know what you're talking about, they're going to come and start following your page as well. When people make comments, if they know that there's a real human on the other side, they might be careful with what comments they make. So if you're engaging, that'll help that. And people are paying attention. If you're making comments to other people, you're going to become top of mind of others, and your name recognition as well. And that again goes with personal name recognition and business name recognition. Tip 5. All right, be sure to use hashtags and do the @ the @ is the @ people are at the businesses. So we talked about that a little bit, but hashtag things responsibly, like drink responsibly, hashtag responsibly. And you could, do, at a certain business name, and it'll pop up with that name. You just have to be careful. You're making sure you're going to the right people. You're posting something, and you could put at, Kauai County, and it'll when you're talking about Kauai County. So this will allow them, they'll get a notification that you included them, and they could add it to their socials, or they'll come to see yours and like yours, and it builds up a following base too. But do not over hashtag and over @ people, because when you start getting carried away on hashtags, then you're just starting to lose some credibility and you're looking desperate. So don't over hashtag. All right, tip 6. Okay, we're getting close to time here, so I only have 5 more tips after this. So don't get overwhelmed. I warned you about this. Start small, scale up. Be sure to commit to posting regularly, but some people might ask, what does regularly mean? And regularly, I would suggest if you could post some kind of organic, original post 3 times a week, then you're killing it. Because if you could come up with original content and post something, Monday, Wednesday, Friday or Saturday, then you're doing great. And then in the days in between, you could reshare things. Maybe it's, an awesome podcast that's in your industry that you saw, and you can reshare it and say why you liked it. Once you start, you got to keep going, because you're building up a following. So, but start where you can accomplish it, but make it a priority too. Tip 7, don't sell too quickly. Be careful. What you want to do is you want to try to build a relationship. So be helpful, figure out what you could do to help your clients, or add service or add value. Social selling is not actually selling. It's about developing relationships, and with the potentials of them becoming customers. So you want to be able to be the top of mind for that person, and be the first point of contact when they're ready to buy. I don't know if you know that the term TOMA is top of mind awareness. And that's when I'll give you a quick quiz on that. When you think of a grocery store, who do you think of first? And it's a quick answer kind of thing, and that might be it might have something to do with where the location of that grocery store might be close to your house. It might be the one you shop at. But that's what's coming up in your head first. When you think of a carpet cleaner, who comes to mind first? That's a little less of a crowded category. And so if you're a carpet cleaner, this might be a good opportunity for you to become become top of mind, that when people think, oh, who am I going to call for a plumber, or I need a new mirror, whatever it might be, that's going to come up. So top of mind awareness, that's a great use of social media, and actually you posting to other people or commenting on other people's stuff. Ooh, tip 8, you want to tell a story. Stories are so much more interesting and more memorable than just, blog text stuff. Find ways to touch the heart of people, not just the mind. You want, and to do this, you make it personal, add a human element to it. Which brings me actually to tip 9, which is use photos of happy people and exciting things. People are drawn to positive and uplifting things. So this is a great reflection on your brand as well. So in your socials, even on your website, those front images should be people that are happy or enjoying your product or your service. So remember to use happy people. People are drawn to it. Tip 10, join in on communities. Within the large social networks, some of the smaller communities are increasingly important. So whether it's in Facebook groups or Twitter chats or LinkedIn groups, there are actually plenty of opportunities for you to connect with like-minded people and like companies that are like yours and within your niche. I say 40% of social marketers believe that private community groups will become more important as time goes on. And participating in these communities, that will help you establish yourself and your company as one that's of authority and lets you connect with some of the most passionate audiences if they're in a group too. And I would suggest too, look for communities that you could not only participate in, but maybe you could start up and start your own groups around your brand. But look for those communities that are related to your industry on social media platforms. And once you're active on there, start to participate within those groups, because that'll bring a lot of people to your business and your socials. Tip 11, interact with your audience. Social media users, they crave authentic interaction within the brands that they follow. So on top of posting high quality, relevant content, make sure you're keeping an eye on each platform that you use and engaging with the people that are using your socials. Answer questions that come up and pay attention to the handles and the hashtags that are out there. If you notice other users having a conversation about your brand or your product, don't be afraid to just chime in and add additional value to that. Users want to know that there's that real person behind the computer. So definitely interact with your audience. We've talked about that. And whenever I talk multiple times about it must be important. It's part of the power of social media. All right, so tip 12 is involve your entire team. Your social media team doesn't have to be just you or the person that's assigned to it. Encourage employees to help with your socials, because whether it's, they might be contributing some content to the blog, you might use them to share their photos, some of their portfolio items, or taking followers behind the scenes. The more they're involved, the team is, and your content becomes better. I was working with an architecture firm, a commercial architecture firm, and they have very talented people. And so we started to showcase even not only their architectural skills, but one person in their office was this great artist, and it was showcasing some of her art. Well, if you think about it, you want your architect to be this creative genius artist type person too. So it was a great way to showcase what I continue to call, make your employees rock stars. But it's a great way to showcase, their talents as well. So that's tip 12. Now, the last part, I just want to recap. We've talked about most of these, but we saw these slides earlier. Who is your audience? Sit down, define your who, what, when, why, where, how. That's an easy one to do. It's the 5 W's and the H at the end. But just keep in mind, people will buy from those that they know, like, and trust. So build your social media content around that. So hopefully, through this webinar, you got thinking about what your audience or who your audience is, and what type of content and that they enjoy, what type of customer you are trying to attract to. And when it comes to when, I didn't have time to add a slide about when is the best time to post. It's kind of crazy because actually the analytics show that 3 a.m. during the week is the best time to post. So it's kind of 3 a.m. is because it's a worldwide thing. So some of it's skewed. And but Monday through Friday is definitely the best time to post. Saturday and Sunday doesn't get as much attraction. So that's a bit of the win. And where to post, I hope through this you've gotten an idea. Business to business, the top is LinkedIn. But depending on what type of business you are, you're going to get a lot of traction out of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Think of your audience. I had a client who it was a mirror and glass place, and I asked them who their primary client was, and it was home builders and contractors and commercial contractors and architects. And they had a girl in their office who was doing their social media, and she was mostly on Instagram because that's what she knew best. And so she starts posting things on Instagram, which is not a bad thing, but they weren't on LinkedIn and they weren't on Facebook. And I just helped them understand the audience on Instagram. And again, old people like me are wanting to be a little more young and are on Instagram, and we're pretending to be young. But most of the Instagram people that they were attracting were people that maybe are renting an apartment or a condo and don't have the power to switch out a window or add a mirror or a shower enclosure. So they were kind of targeting the wrong audience, and they wanted to target homeowners or the working professionals that are in the industry of construction. So we started to redirect them towards Facebook and LinkedIn, and it helped them quite a bit. So that's where to post, kind of figuring out what social is best for you. Why is actually should be the first thing you start with. Why are you even doing this? Define your purpose. We talked about the goals at the beginning. What do you want social media to achieve for you? So kind of get that down first. Why you're even going to do this. I'll tell you that it's going to give you a huge boost in everything you do, but you have to do it right. And I guess that's another warning that I have. If you're not going to do this right, if you're not going to commit to it, it could backfire on you. You could end up doing something that is not very professional, and just make sure that and the thought of you joining this webinar is something that shows me that you are interested in doing it and doing it right. So, congrats on that, doing your research and figuring out what to do, and then how to do it. This is where you want to have a strategy, identify, what can help you achieve these goals. And another part of the how is how are you going to come up with this content? How are you going to produce this content? And hopefully through this, you've seen that Canva is a great tool, easy to use tool that's how you could create it. And also brainstorming and coming up with ideas is how you can as well. So that's going to conclude the look at that handsome dude at the end there. I say that because that's probably the best picture I could take. It was at the beach, and it, that's not quite how I look. It's only camera ready. Probably some touch up involved too, but I'll leave it at that. There's my contact information. It's a Kauai number, Dale at keep3marketing.com as well. And this is an opportunity for some question and answer. I saw there's a couple of things in there. Was there?
Yes. We have two that came in. I can read them out. So one person said, "What's the best time of day to post if you have viewers nationwide in different time zones?"
Yeah, well, the crazy thing was, and doing some research on it, was 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. were the times that were the most, got the most traction. And I think that is because it's worldwide. But interestingly enough, too, 1 p.m. on Friday was a great day to post. But again, Monday through Friday is by far the better time. And between the hours of 11 to 4 p.m. are good times during that. Try not to post anything on the weekends unless it has something to do with the weekend. If it's something you could save till Monday, do it then. Which kind of shows me that a lot of people are wasting their time at work, on their socials. So next question I see here too is, should I post the same content across all social media accounts? And that is at the same time. I mentioned how Instagram and Facebook are connected. You definitely want to use that to, you could take an Instagram post and then ask it to post it to Facebook. And it's okay to post it at the same time. And even the same content, because there's several people need, we drive by billboards, on the mainland, there's a lot more billboards, and Hawaii doesn't have them, but you don't recognize them. And sometimes these are like billboards. You might scroll right past it the first time, but the second time might pique your interest. So if they're on Insta and then they're on to Facebook, it's good that you're on there. But I would tweak things a little bit when you're going from one platform, if say to like LinkedIn, and there's different elements you could do within LinkedIn that you can't do on Instagram, and Instagram different things. So, again, you could add, links to things and get people to click through to things as well. So it's okay to post the same content as long as it's relevant to the social media accounts. Because again, Instagram is very visually oriented, and LinkedIn is such a professional group of people. So
yeah, I would like to chime in too. It's just also on different platforms, you're reaching different types of audiences, like Dale said. So yeah, maybe you want to try get a younger group, go to Instagram. Older people, I feel like they use Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I also wanted to go back to the previous question. For when you're talking about the times, is it Hawaii Standard Time, or because he had the follow-up question of like, viewers nationwide? So like if you have some audience in the East Coast, that's like a 6-hour difference. So
yeah, you're right. And I would try to think of that time. If your audience is the US, try to be somewhere in the middle there. Maybe that's mountain time. Some people will check their socials first thing in the morning, so maybe you want to have that in there. And again, as long as it's in there when because if they're following a lot of stuff, it gets buried quick. So yeah, pay attention to your time zone and try to get it within that day of maybe middle America. But if you are looking at your Hawaii, if it's just a locally trying to attract the businesses in Hawaii, then stick with your time. Yeah, and the 3 a.m. doesn't make much sense to me, but that makes sense when you're looking at a global post. So
yeah, someone typed in the chat, another tip for deciding when to post is to take a look at your analytics and post for when your customers are responding, which I really think I think if you have a business account or something set up, like even through Instagram, you can see like when people are most active, right?
Yeah, and I really would encourage you, and this is a little bit overwhelming for some to get into the analytics, but to me, it's silly when, like, if you have a website and you have no idea how many people are going to, what they're looking at and where they're going and why they're exiting, then it seems like it's a waste. And that's the same thing with social media. It's such a valuable tool to know what people are looking at, what they're engaging with, and because it also gives you ideas of what more you could do. It's what they're enjoying, and so let's give them more of that too.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff, when you're looking at your analytics, it gives you an idea. Okay, people really like the did you know sections, so I'm going to keep, like, maybe I'm going to schedule every Monday I'm going to have a did you know and a fast fact about that. And the other thing too, and we have a little bit of time, but if you want to think of your social media, and this is kind of silly examples, but I tend to think, okay, we always think about Taco Tuesday, maybe, and I mentioned how, like, on Mondays, maybe you could have it be every Monday you're going to do the did you know thing. And on Thursdays you're going to highlight, we have that throwback Thursday that people jump on, but maybe Thursdays you're going to have something about your employees, and maybe people centric. You could start to kind of create a calendar base, and maybe even coming up with something that you remember. On Thursdays I do this. I help a city social media campaign. On Thursdays we feature a business of the week now, and that's just every Thursday we're going to do that. So when Thursday is coming up, I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what business of the week it is. So it causes you to pay attention to.
That's very insightful. Thank you. We have a couple minutes left. I don't see any more questions, but is there any like key takeaways that you just want to emphasize?
There's going to be things after we hang up that I'm like, oh, I wish I said that.
Mm.
But social media marketing is fairly overwhelming when you start to look at everything that's involved in it. And one thing I just don't want to do is scare you away from it. I try to keep things, fairly basic, and just try to instruct and help you understand things. But one thing that, just get started in it, look and see what your competition is doing or what similar businesses are doing. That'll help you as well. The more you do it, the more confidence you're going to get. And hopefully you stick to some good positive things, because that's what is going to keep you motivated as well, is when you're posting things that uplift. The other thing I'll caution you about is if you're not getting the likes and the follows and stuff, because some people get embarrassed if they don't have 50 likes on it, and they might take it down. Don't worry, people are seeing it. They're not necessarily clicking to like it. And if the more active you are on your social media and other people's social media, that'll help you get more people to your website or to your social media. So keep it going. Don't give up, because social media, I have a degree in marketing, right? And this is something, when I was in college, we dreamed about trying to figure out getting into the minds of our customers and what they're looking at. You can put an ad in a magazine or a newspaper. You have no idea who looked at it, or if anybody read it, or if you just wasted that $1,000, whatever. Social media marketing, and even a website digital marketing is so amazing, because how many people engaged and looked at it and liked it and saw it and viewed your video, and it's just amazing what is done. So if you're not on social media, this has encouraged you to jump on social media. And the other thing that I never did is I never talked about paid socials. you can certainly jump into that arena and pay for your boosts, post the boosts and all that. But I'm encouraging you to go ahead and try to have organic reach and get your followers organically, because that's something that those people are your most followed or your most loyal customers as well. But yeah, you can certainly get into the paid, boosts and all that, and it works. You're going to have good return on your investment for them. But when you're getting started in this, just jump in. When you're ready to boost those posts, do it, and then you're going to see some magic happen there too.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you again, Dale, and everyone for attending. Just as a reminder for those who have attended, this session has been recorded and will be sent out. And if you're interested in the other webinars that we have done in the past, you can visit www.htdc.org/e-commerce, and you can view our past webinars and see our upcoming webinars that we have available. So yeah, thank you, Dale.
Thank you. It was awesome. Aloha, guys.
Aloha, mahalo.